Magic 106.7 and Century Bank putting the spotlight on area nonprofits doing great work, and the Animal Rescue League of Boston is certainly in that class. For 118 years.
Yes, since 1899.
Wow. Caring for animals and the people who care for animals. Mary Nee is the president of the Animal Rescue League of Boston. That is a long time and a lot of animals.
It is a long time. We were actually founded by a social worker who was born in Dorchester, not too far from here, and she was so concerned about the condition of horses that were on the streets, working horses, as well as dogs and cats. And she was concerned about the condition of the animals, but also the fact that children were witnessing such horrible treatment of animals.
Right.
And so she founded the organization to respond to that.
Yeah. 118 years ago, I'm imagining, you know, in 2017, animals now, we're talking about pets, dogs, cats, birds, other things that people have as domestic pets. But 118 years ago, did people have dogs and cats as pets?
They
I know the history
did.
of
It was many of them were community cats and dogs. And
Yeah, it wasn't like today.
They ran the streets, but working horses were a very big part. This is pre-automobiles, so that was a big part of the animal population.
So talk a little bit about your mission. I know you guys do everything from veterinary care to adoption to rescue services. Talk a little bit about sort of the breadth of what you do.
Sure. I mean, overall, our goal is to keep animals safe and healthy in habitats and homes. We do have 3 shelters, but we're really focused on keeping animals out of shelters because it's not a healthy environment in any situation. So we have a range of services from our law enforcement. We have special police officers that can investigate animal cruelty. We do emergency rescue. We have 3 shelters in Boston, Dedham, and Brewster where we do animal care and adoption. We also do a number of community services where we're vaccinating animals in the community. We're doing outreach in the community. We have a mobile unit that does spay and neutering services. We show up in parking lots and we treat animals. Yeah.
Amazing. And you do that with staff, but a huge number of volunteers who are committed to your work.
Yeah, did I read that you have, was it like 500 volunteers?
Close to 600 now.
Wow.
Seriously?
Close to 600. We have a staff of about 100 people. We couldn't do our work without the volunteers. I mean, some of our volunteers literally work full-time for us.
And talk a little bit about what the volunteers do so people can probably get involved at all kinds of different levels.
All kinds of levels.
Time commitments and
They
things
can,
like
in our downtown facility, we have people who get out of work at 5 o'clock and come over and walk dogs. So they walk dogs. We have specialized groups such as our feline mod squad where people come in and socialize cats so that they can be adopted. So they work with the behavior of cats. We have a canine mod squad, the same thing. They do behavior evaluations and work with a dog so it can be more appropriately adopted.
Interesting.
I read a statistic that last year you served or came to the aid of more than 17,000 animals. How is that possible? Wow.
Well, last year was an unusual year in the sense that we had a very large cruelty case. We were one of the lead agencies in with the Westport Police on the Westport Farm situation.
Right.
So we discovered 1,400 animals living in very difficult situations and worked with partners, national partners and others to move those animals off. But we do see on average, close to 16,000 animals that will be coming through our doors every year.
Those cases frequently make the news, and there's a lot of headlines about it. It seems to me as something you mentioned a couple of minutes ago is something that is a message that I often hear about spaying and neutering. And I wanted you to take just a minute to express how important that is if you have an animal that is not spayed or neutered, how important that is.
Oh, it's tremendously important. Spay and neutering has real health benefits for the animal. And it also helps with behavior. And all the animals that are adopted from ARL have been vaccinated, have been spayed and neutered, and also have had behavior evaluations. So we really go through an extra length. I mean, more than 90% of the animals that come into our organization get adopted out. We're very proud of that, but it takes time, to get that cat or to get that dog socialized so that it can be part of a family. Or alternatively, maybe it needs to be with a single owner. So, we work very hard on that.
Talk a little bit about the advocacy piece of it. Are there laws that you guys are looking to implement or
Yes.
have changed, or talk a little bit about that piece of it?
Well, we've been working very hard. I was part of a task force, an animal cruelty and protection task force that sent a report to the legislature last year. We now have a bill before the state legislature called the Pause 2 Act, and that was just reported favorably out of committee this week, so we're very excited about that. A couple things about that bill. I testified that we're asking for mandated cross-reporting. So when we or animal control go into a home and we see an animal in distress, but we also see a person in distress, that we report. And likewise, when Department of Children and Families, Elder Affairs, or Disabilities goes in, they see an animal in distress, they report. Because the link between animal neglect and abuse and human neglect and abuse is really very close. If people are at risk, animals are at risk. And so sharing that information and having that information available, we think will prevent a lot of suffering. So we're very excited about that. There's a number of other things in the bill, but we're really hopeful.
It's hard to argue with a bill like that. What is ahead? What issues and things are around the bend? You have 3 shelters. Are you looking to expand? I would imagine you're looking to close shelters. You want to get the animals out of there.
Well,
but,
we want to get the animals out, but we feel great. I mean, animals are spending, on average, less than a week with us.
Oh,
so,
that's
so they're
tremendous.
moving out very quickly. We have a pilot project, but we've been working for the last 2 years in Codman Square, working with the community around veterinary services, education with the Codman Academy. Students have been very involved. We're trying to develop curriculum for students around animal welfare. So I think, one of our goals is to be more and more in community. If we can prevent animal abuse and neglect through education and early detection, we think that will be the better road for those animals and the people as well.
Nice.
How can people get involved? Obviously, they can volunteer because you rely so heavily on volunteers, and then I'm assuming that you take donations. How does that work?
If you go to arlboston.org, you can search through the legislation, you can search through all of our programs, but you can also sign up to volunteer, and you can also donate.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Mary Nee is the president of the Animal Rescue League in Boston for 118 years, going strong.
Not her for
I mean, you haven't been the president for that long, but the organization for 118 years has been doing great
You look
work.
good for 118.
Continued success in all you do, and thanks to you and to Century Bank for being here today.
I want to thank you guys for having us. This is huge, and Century Bank. We rely entirely, we have no government funding, so we rely entirely on donations. And most of our donations come at the end of the year. So it's a critical period for us. So for us to be able to get our message out this time of year is great.
We're happy to do it.
Yeah, thank you.